Hi everyone, it's Friday evening and I'm at home in Washington and I'm reviewing the course of our week, and I was thinking that it might be useful for if I go over the innovation memo project with you very concisely. And I know it's kind of tedious to watch your professor, especially in an empty room with bad echoes and sort of bad lighting as well. I apologize for that, but my house is being torn up by carpenters, and the renovations will be very nice when they're done, but they're not done yet. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk about what the innovation project is, and everything that I'm going to say it has already been written, but let me kind of pull things together for you. Okay, without further ado, first of all, it's very important to understand as you're preparing this that this is a professional format, and it's a professional format that in the course of your careers you are going to use hundreds of times, maybe more. Now, this said, the format itself will require modification, adaptation, transformation, depending on your employee level, depending on the organization or the excuse me, or the company, and depending on the type of innovation or the type of project, and of course the type of work that you're involved with. But the core of what we're doing really will not change very much. And because not only will you be using this all the time professionally, and above all, because this will be so important for your professional advancement, that I think it's one of the main lessons of this whole course. And it's really important not only that you do it well and you get a good grade on that, but you deeply understand it. Because if you deeply understand it, you can use it for your own growth, and you can begin using it immediately at work. Now, let me sort of say it let me explain from a somewhat different level. The one thing that this innovation memo or this innovation project is not is a standard theoretical college research paper. Okay? And that's why I think that sometimes people have trouble writing this, because what they do is they just think, oh, it's another research paper. And then they just kind of grind into it, so to speak. Well, that doesn't work so very well here for a whole lot of reasons. Okay, and so let me walk you through what this is and how it's different. First of all, think of the major difference. That is, you're writing this paper not for a professor, whom you basically never know or rarely know very well, but you're writing it for and to your supervisor. Now, everyone, I realize you're really writing it for me, of course. That goes without saying. But your target audience in the scenario that we've established for the research paper is not me, but for your supervisor. Now, this entails a lot of things. First of all, in almost all cases, you know your supervisor pretty well. And there's a wide range, of course. Sometimes you're close to the supervisor. Sometimes you're not so close. But you always know the person. You're almost always on first name basis or close to it. And keeping in mind, too, you often know your supervisor really, really well. Okay, so how you want to present the personality of your supervisor and how you want to adjust the tone of your writing is completely up to you. But it is an important consideration here, because if you're distant from your supervisor, you're going to be pretty formal. If you're brand new to your job, you're going to tend to be pretty formal. But if you've been working with the same person for 10 years, you're not going to be formal, in most cases, or in almost all cases. So that's something, that difference between writing to your professor and writing to your supervisor is extremely important. Now, the second thing is, as I've said, often, you want to consider yourself a middle-level manager, so some kind or another, in the exact rank in your exact place in your organization doesn't make any difference to me. You're sort of going to define that for yourself. But that also entails certain things and has certain consequences. And this is one of the other big differences between this assignment and a normal college research paper. Usually on a college research paper, you're going to be kind of writing in a general way, as though you're sort of a general researcher. Here, your definition is much more precise. That is, you are making a suggestion to your own supervisor based on your position in the organization. Okay, so what does that mean practically? It means that you are not going to be, in almost all cases, suggesting a vast technological change. You're not going to be writing about an innovation that is going to touch 60,000 people in a company. Your innovation is going to be focused on what you know and what you work with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing it. Otherwise, you would be maybe talking to someone in your company, and then they would take it over. Now, the other part of this is in these really wide, broad, general innovations, and this is one of the things we want to communicate to you. A normal organization, especially like a big company, the military, a government, or at any level, is going to have somewhere between 3 and 4 and 50 or 60 people working on the innovation over a long period of time. And that's not the kind of innovation we're talking about. We're talking about an innovation that is the result of your daily activity in a job. Okay, now, which leads me to another difference between a research paper and that is a normal college research paper, traditional college research paper, and this one. Your position as a middle-level manager is going to take place at a certain geographical location. And this needs to be built into the innovation. That is, your suggestion is going to have consequences and target something that has happened, that is happening or occurs at your own place of work. Okay, now I know instinctively this is a little hard because once again, people are used to writing general or generic research papers of a more or less theoretical nature. And again, this is not this. This is something, this is innovation that is going to be implemented in the area that you know best. Once again, otherwise you wouldn't be writing it. Once again, if I'm working, if I'm an Air Force Master Sergeant, we'll do it like this, and I have a bright idea for, administrative process change. First of all, there's not going to really be an avenue for you to make a general change for the whole Department of Defense. And if you, really have a great, wonderful idea, then you're going to, not do a formal proposal, but you're going to talk to your supervisor about it. Your supervisor will know how to do the channels. We're talking about something much more modest than that, and that's what makes this fun, I think, because you're really basing your innovation. I always have to check the time, and I'm going to run out of time here. No, I'm sorry. I have quite a lot of time, actually. So you're going to be looking around you, and yes, that theoretical background or that general background has some relevance, of course, but you're going to use that as a lens to making an improvement or making a suggestion where you're working. Okay, let me be very practical here. Basically, this whole project has to be very specific, as I keep saying, to place and time. Often, students doing this assignment don't put a time frame on it. Okay, now think about this in a very practical way. If you make a suggestion to your organization, whether it's a small organization or a large organization, you're always going to say, ideally this should start then, at a certain time and a certain date. Otherwise, it is impossible for your superiors to really evaluate it, because something that's going to start in 2 weeks is going to be analyzed in a different way from something that is going to start in 2 years. Now, that's in this innovation memo. You need to be very, very precise. You need to give basically, to put it bluntly, you need to put a date in there and be very, very, very clear about that. Now, if anyone has any questions about that, please just write me directly, okay, or text me directly, and I will explain, and I will give you more answers. Now, there's another part that's really important that I want everyone to think hard about, please, and that is this whole innovation project has to be, you have to designate an exact place where it's going to happen, or once again, it's going to be impossible to evaluate it. And I mean, quite frankly, speaking kind of brutally, as a professional writer, if you make a suggestion and don't say where it's going to happen, I mean, quite frankly, they won't read it. They'll just stop reading. It's trash. Maybe be polite, but probably not even respond. So you've got to be very careful there. So thus, once again, practically speaking, not only do you have to give a precise address, but you have to basically use that address as the context for everything you see, everything you suggest, okay? And that's throughout the paper, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. Second, and I know that's very difficult, and it's not easy to do, but it is one of the key aspects of this professional format. Once again, we want you to be able to use this, and we want you to be able to make suggestions, because your advancement in organizations is going to be, and to some extent, conditioned. Let me put it nicely, conditioned by your ability to make really good creative suggestions. And we chose this format as our earliest one in the class because we know how important it is. Okay, now I have to pause. I've got 3 or 4 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is stop here. So everything I've said so far has to do with the content of the paper. Okay, and the overall idea is that you have to suggest an innovation that is appropriate to your station in an organization, a company, the government, or the military. And it's a role-playing scenario where you're writing to your supervisor. You're a middle-level person, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop now, and in my what I'll call video 2 or something like that, I will talk about the form or the formatting, and you'll see that in a way this is difficult, and I know everyone who writes this has trouble launching it. But once you get moving on it and establish the structures, it gets very easy. And remember please keep in mind my very, very, whatever you want to call it, understanding, attitude towards do-overs. Basically, you can do everything pretty much over, okay? And there's really good reasons for that, because we want you to be able to do this. We're really committed to you being able to use this form effectively, because in a way it's kind of like the foundation of all other professional formats. It's really important, and it's fun once you get used to it. Okay, that's enough for video 1. Thanks, everyone. You're very patient. And sorry about the echoes and all of that.